All right, this video is going to go over notes 7.4a, which is long division. This is a topic that a lot of students really struggle with. So let's see if I can help you out some. I want to start with, if you think back to basic math, imagine like 211 divided by 5. You did this when you were younger. You did long division without really realizing it. All right, you're going to follow these same steps as if you were doing it with polynomials. So the first thing is to divide, like the 21 divided by 5. You would get 4. Then you would distribute that 4 times the 5, and you would get 20. And then you would subtract the 20, and you would get 1. And then you would drop your next number down, and you would repeat. So then you'd be like, okay, 11 divided by 5 is 2. You would distribute the 2, which would be 10. You would subtract, and you'd get 1, and this would be your remainder. So my answer here would be 42 1/5. All right, so it's going to be the exact same process. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, I've got n squared minus 3n minus 21 divided by n minus 7. All right, your first step is divide. And when you say divide, you're dividing first term by first term. So n squared divided by n is n. All right, the next thing you do is you have to distribute this n to both of these things. So it's going to be like n times n is n squared. N times minus 7 is minus 7n. Now the key here is step C. This is the hardest part. This is where everybody messes up. You need to do minus parentheses. You're minusing this whole thing. So some people like to distribute the minus and make it a plus. You can totally do that as long as you change these signs. I would actually recommend doing that. And what should happen is these first terms should cancel. And then you just combine these other ones. So you have -3 and a +7, that's 4n. So there was the whole process. And now you just drop your next term and you repeat. So repeat. First thing divided by first thing. So 4n divided by n is +4. Then I distribute the 4. So that's going to be 4n minus 28. Then comes the part where you have to minus this whole thing. You can distribute that minus and make it a plus as long as you change those signs. So here, these 4n's would cancel and you would have 7. That would be your remainder. So my answer here would be n plus 4 with a remainder, so you put a little plus, 7 over whatever you were dividing by. I know, it's not that easy to do. All right, here we go. Let's look at the second one. We've got v cubed minus 2v squared minus 14v minus 5 divided by v plus 3. Okay, same process. Divide first term, maybe it'll help if I color code it a little bit on the steps. Divide first term by first term. So v cubed divided by v is v squared. You're then going to distribute, so I guess that's going to be in red too. Distribute v squared to these things. So that's going to make v cubed and plus 3v squared. Now comes the subtract part. You have to minus this entire thing. You can distribute that if you want, as long as you change these signs. So you combine them and the v cubes cancel. And then you have minus 2v squared plus negative 3v squared. That makes minus 5v squared. Then you drop your next term and you repeat. So drop the minus 14v and repeat the process. First term divided by first term. Negative 5v squared divided by v is minus 5v. You're then going to distribute a minus 5v to v plus 3. That's going to make minus 5v squared minus 15v. You then have to subtract this whole thing. Distribute the minus and change these signs. Then you can combine, the v squareds cancel, and this makes 1v. You then drop your next term and repeat. First term divided by first term. 1v divided by v is 1. distribute the 1. So that's going to make v plus 3. Subtract this whole thing. Make it a plus. Change these signs. The v's cancel. -5 plus -3 is -8. That's my remainder. So my answer here is v squared minus 5v plus 1 with a remainder, so I put a little plus, of -8 over what I was dividing by, which was v plus 3. And be advised on this answer, if you have a negative remainder here, I could have just written it like this. I could have put a -8 like that. It doesn't matter. So me personally, I would probably put plus -8. That way I always just put a plus right there so I don't forget. All right, moving on. Okay, this next one, we've got 2x squared minus 17x minus 30 divided by 2x plus 3. First term divided by first term. 2x squared divided by 2x is 1x. You can just put x if you want. Then I distribute. So that's going to make 2x squared plus 3x. Then I have to subtract this whole thing. So make it a plus, change the signs, then combine. The x squareds will cancel. -17x plus -3x is -20x. Drop my next term and repeat. -20x divided by 2x is -10. Distribute a -10 to all this, to these two things. So that's going to make -20x minus 30. Subtract this whole thing, distribute the minus and change the signs, and combine. This will cancel. -30 plus 30 is 0, so I do not have a remainder here, so my answer is just 1x minus 10. All right, and then this last one. So it's a squared minus 28. A squared. If you just put it like this, you've already lost. You have to cover all of the variables. So there are 0 a's here. This is what I'm talking about. You have to cover that. That is super important. So it's really like this, divided by a minus 5. All right, same process. A squared divided by a is a. Distribute the a. You'd get a squared minus 5a. Minus this whole thing. Distribute the negative and change these signs and combine. The a squareds cancel and it leaves 5a. Drop your next term and repeat. 5a divided by a is plus 5. Distribute a plus 5 to these things. So that would get 5a minus 25. Subtract this whole thing. Distribute the minus and change the signs. And combine. The a's cancel. -28 plus 25 is -3. This is my remainder. So my answer here is a plus 5 with a remainder, so I put a little plus, of -3 over what I was dividing by, which was a minus 5. And that would be my answer. So as long as you follow those steps, it's just like you learned it as a kid. So don't let it overwhelm you or anything. They're not that bad. But hope this video helped.